Hello, everybody, and welcome.
Buongiorno. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another week of CLCI Live, where we answer all your coaching-related questions and topics. Before we begin, let's go ahead and remind everybody that we are live, which means you can join in the conversation. You can be a part of this discussion. We encourage you to do so. So please leave comments for us. We want to hear from you. So join in. But before we even do that, click that subscribe button. Do it. You know, we need to support. So click that subscribe, share this with anybody who also might like this information. All right, let's dive right into today's topic. What are we talking about today?
It is Self-Sabotage 101. Are you afraid of success?
Are you terrified of success?
Are you avoiding success?
Does success scare you?
Does success make you want to pee your pants?
Oh my!
Out of fear.
Of course. Out of Anthony's mouth, always.
Okay, so diving right in here, I have questions, as always. We hear a lot about fear of failure, right? And that's the pretty common thing that we hear about. And Briefly, what is fear of failure? I mean, it's pretty.
I don't want to fail. That's it. I'm not gonna try to do something because I'm afraid what will happen if I fail. Like if I tried to jump the span of like a bridge, or like from building to building, if I was like doing parkour, I'd be afraid of failure because I'd fall to my death or maiming.
So now let's talk about fear of success. Would you be afraid of landing that jump?
In that case, I think the fear of failure is like too dramatic. Like I would want to succeed in that case.
What if I wanted to see you jump every day for the rest of your life at that point? Since you can do it.
I'd be afraid of your success in that endeavor and making me do that.
Okay.
But we're not talking about other people's success.
Yeah.
I'm afraid of my own success. So what does that look like?
So so let's talk about it. Jen, what does success mean to you? There we go. She asked if she was going to have that.
I like how I said, are we going to need to be prepared to give our own personal definition?
It's your fault I'm even asking the question.
Yeah.
I am not prepared to give.
You should have been afraid of the success of that question.
So I'll just answer it with whatever comes to mind, whatever comes up for me in the moment right now. And that is success is a feeling, not an actual action. So I am chasing feelings in my life. I'm not necessarily chasing accomplishments. I don't know if everybody lives that way.
That is the exact opposite of how I just find success. It's like I do not view success in terms of feelings or emotions. It's like there's a goal, there's a checkbox or something that needs to be completed or done with results. And when those results have been met, that is what success is. It is the checking of the box and the reaping of the benefits.
But my checkbox is a feeling of fulfillment.
Yeah, I don't get fulfillment has nothing to do with success for me. I can achieve something that I've been wanting to achieve for a while and feel nothing.
Holy That's actually the case.
Right there.
I love the contrast.
Not to like dive further into that, but that's sometimes the case in a lot of people. So people who are like continuously chasing success, they're a lot of times addicted to that sensation of the chase, that serotonin boost that you get about dreaming about when it's going to happen. That's like they get more like fed by the process than they do by the
dopamine hit.
And then they hit that successful moment and it falls flat, and they're like, man, this is supposed to be amazing and I feel nothing. Like, what the heck? And
so that could be a fear of success right there. Like, I am afraid that I'm not going to feel good about the success, so I'm not going to go for it.
I'm gonna just keep doing the grind, right?
So you're then afraid of success because you're trying to avoid negative emotion?
Me?
Is that what you just said?
No,
not you, but whoever you were just describing.
Oh no, because they want that satisfaction. Like, I want to feel good through my successes. I'm afraid though, whenever I achieve my success, it's I'm not going to feel anything.
Well, that's
not going to feel like I achieved anything, even though they achieved what they wanted. They got the result. Like, if I was like a freaking careerist guy who wanted to be the top executive at my company, and once I got there, it's like I worked so hard for nothing. It feels like I achieved nothing except a lot of work and responsibility. That could stop I mean, they don't know if that's going to be the case, but that might stop them from achieving that.
I mean, I think truthfully though, in that situation, those people do get their successes. They are, they're comfortable with achieving that success moment, and but they end up getting there and it doesn't feel as satisfactory. So I don't know that they're afraid of success as much as they are addicted to it. So it's kind of a different beast, I would think. We're talking, I think when we're, for the sake of this, or just maybe not, maybe I'm completely wrong here. We're talking about people who often self-sabotage themselves, right? Self-sabotage 101. So they sabotage their success because they are afraid of being successful, right? So and it can be completely subconscious sometimes too, for folks. So when we talk about fear of success, what are some symptoms would you guess? How does that present in folks?
Procrastination. I just keep putting it off. What else could it look like?
Visible limiting beliefs, where they keep cycling through like a hamster wheel of the same beliefs that they could easily, dig deeper on if they wanted to, but they seem very comfortable in that belief as a barrier. I noticed that.
Blaming themselves.
Wait, what did you say, Jerome?
Blaming themselves anytime something goes wrong, kind of keeping themselves in a bit of a pit, in a rut. Similar to what Jen was saying. Definitely, I would say emotional, pretty much debilitation, I guess is a good way to put it.
I think it's safe to say, like, all of the things we will discuss over the course of this Self-Sabotage 101 might present as a fear of success symptom. Because there's a lot of perfectionism, a number of ways that we can sabotage ourselves, because ultimately that's what they do, is they self-sabotage because they're afraid of success. Why do you think people are afraid of success?
I mean, there's lots of reasons. One I can imagine is the fear of responsibility, because most success is tied with more responsibility in maintaining, the new standard, and you're afraid of either the work that you have to put into it or losing that success eventually. Like, what if I succeed and then I get what I want and then I eventually lose it? Like somebody could be afraid of entering into a new relationship because I don't want to lose this person again, because I've lost people before, I've been broken up with before, and I don't want to do that again. So I'm afraid of succeeding.
Yeah.
So unwilling to take a risk
Yeah.
based on that.
Fear of expectation too, I would say, comes along with that. Once you succeed, I think that can become something that people around you start assuming is going to come next continuously, again and again and again. Not just that one instance of success.
Ooh, or fear that the other shoe's gonna drop.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I've had good things happen to me. Now a bad thing has to happen to me to balance it out.
Yeah.
And the
One
better
good
the
thing,
good
three
thing,
bad things. Yeah.
yeah, the better the good thing, the worse the bad thing is gonna happen.
There's the overthinking and over planning that you never walk forward to even trying because you're trying to correct any mistake that could possibly happen before, that you never go through and follow up with that next goal that provides you that success.
That's sort of like the perfectionist, right? So the person who is like, I'm hiding behind that, which we're going to discuss. So let's not get too far into that in one of these weeks. So, but that's sort of the symptom. But the fear is ultimately they're afraid that people are going to criticize their success. They're afraid that they're not going to be good enough once they get there. They're afraid that really, I think that person who's super perfectionist is very afraid of what everything out here is going to say about their success, and so they keep changing it and and it becomes this endless cycle where they never launch, failure to launch essentially, because they are so wrapped up in what other people will think. That it becomes a big fear, and it presents as a fear of success at that point.
I thought of another one. I don't know if we've touched on it. Like you attain the goal, but you don't celebrate that goal because you're afraid of the shoe dropping, and that you hurry up and go on to the next one. Brooke got mad at me a few times for that.
Oh, I did. Yeah. So I was like, why can't we celebrate? Can we celebrate, please? In this moment, like it's a little thing or whatever, but let's celebrate. And because it was important, right? I'm somebody that likes to be working towards things, right? And so when that celebration didn't happen and things were good, it's like, oh.
But if I celebrate, I might jinx it, right? Or and that's the terrified of that next step, or even what is that other syndrome we often talk about in this? They're going to catch me and realize
imposter. Yeah. There's also, I think, at least for me, with the fear of success, there's a death of who I am right now that has to occur in order for me to achieve what I want. The person that I have to become to achieve what I want, it's not me right here in this moment. There's so much that has to happen, and that's scary. I have to give up the old version of me to become the new version of me.
So that's interesting.
I agree with that sentiment, although I believe a coach would like challenge you on that.
Well, I want to. Don't run away from it really quick. So so that's really interesting. You notice in the moment that, or acknowledge in the moment that you will have to change. Like there's going to have to be a very in-depth, deep, or crazy change in you for you to take the steps and have that success, and that you worry about that, right? Like that's something that this is like foreign to me, so that's why I'm asking, like genuinely, because I'm
not that I worry about it, is that I'm just
things like without even thinking about it. So
it's just if I'm gonna write a book, or if I'm gonna speak on a stage in front of people, it's gonna require some big discomfort. It's gonna require some big transformation in me to become someone who can do that.
So you know that, but so what stops you? What part of that stops you?
I don't know if I'm stopped, but I'm aware that feels sometimes big and scary.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But it doesn't prevent you. It just gives you a little trepidation.
I don't know. We'll see if it prevents me.
I mean, we're speaking hypothetically. Is that something you want to do, and would that be a measure of success for you?
Yes, absolutely.
But you said that it would require the death of the current you. I talking metaphorically, because
Sure.
if you were that person, you would have already been doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, being the successful person means being the person you're currently not, because you're not doing that. It requires some sort of change.
I don't know that that's true. Like, I feel like it's a very like, I feel like
I was thinking, like, in the most literal
let me
terms.
finish. So I feel like it's not, because I'm trying to get my thought out and interrupting. So I feel like where I disagree in this moment is it's not a death, because all of who I am and my knowledge is actually a foundation for the next step, right? So I'm not killing anything in me to change. I'm actually taking the me of who I am now, and I'm growing it. I'm building onto it. I'm adding to it. I'm changing the direction of it. And so I think that that's where I went, like, it didn't gel, because it's not, for me, it's never been like a death. Mind you, I do let things go, right? Because there's a finite amount of time in the day, a finite amount of stuff we can do. I think of more recently, I used to stream video games, and I've set that aside because I'm doing something else, right?
Death.
And I guess that could be a death of streaming, but I don't know that it is a death, because I can always pick that up and do it again. It's just I'm here, I'm somewhere else now, and that person still exists and isn't dead. Right? And so that's where I was like, I think that that's where I was trying to,
the metaphorical language doesn't apply to the way you sort of conceptualize that. But for Jen, though, with the way you interpret success requires a transformation, which from what you currently are to something else. And the language you used for that was the death.
Which may not be the language that I will continue to choose to use, because now that I'm speaking it out loud and we are hearing Brooke's feedback, I'm starting to assess, is it serving me to think of it that way? That's something that I will give some space to, for sure, because I'm not going to keep thinking that if that's not serving me.
Like a question, or one of the an analogy that comes to mind is a caterpillar, right? When a caterpillar becomes a butterfly, did the caterpillar die?
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know the science behind the caterpillar butterfly.
Here's I mean, I think we're like,
it goes into a chrysalis and it changes, and then it comes out and it's got wings, and it's the same creature. It's just in a different stage of its life, which is interesting.
Okay, so yeah, it didn't die, but the caterpillar died. I mean, metaphorically, because it's a butterfly. It's not a caterpillar.
We're like skirting the edge of a completely different topic. Is like, what is death? Because like,
sorry,
we're using it as a metaphor right now to like help our understanding of like why we're afraid of success and what is change and transformation. But we're not even addressing, like, we're having different opinions on what death is.
Yeah.
And we're starting to not like jive with
We're losing we're going into the weeds, is what you're saying.
We're back on track here.
Well, it's just like to continue the conversation, we'd have to have a conversation on what death is and what it isn't, and I don't know if we're prepared to have that conversation.
So let's you know what, though, like, one of the things I think that a lot of self-helpy, cliche kind of quote that goes out there, and just sort of the thing, I have a love-hate relationship with quotes, because they are powerful, but they oversimplify the process a lot of times. They make it, it seems so easy, but it really kind of at the same time isn't always as easy as that, right? But that being said, one of the things I think that we hear is, well, what are you afraid of more, succeeding or never getting there? Like, what is scarier? And getting to the end of your life and having regret, and having never accomplished what you wanted, and having no more time, or having to take the steps and have the success and things of that nature, right? And is that something that truly works to motivate somebody, do you think? Is that a realistic form of motivation?
I do. I think
Probably
it's
to
realistic.
older people. And
Well,
I say that like I'm not being tongue in cheek. I really think because
What's
on
older?
this, on,
Wait,
on
wait,
this,
wait. What's older?
yeah,
closer
are you
to
putting
the-
me in that
closer-
category?
Yeah, I'm gonna kick your butt here. What's older?
I'm gonna say closer to the date of your own death, because studies have shown, and like people who have been interviewed who are close, like on their deathbed, that's the number one thing.
That's
The
the
regrets
biggest-
in life.
The biggest,
But
yeah.
They're only saying that because there's no more future to look forward to, and there's less unknown things. And they're on the opposite end of that spectrum. If you're on the beginning of the spectrum, which is a younger person, probably the fear is going to be of, I'm afraid to try things because of the fear of failure, not because I'm afraid I'm going to regret things. That is when you're young and, like, let's say a teenager, that is completely not a thought. You don't consider your death and your life the same way that an older person does. Which is why when people are on their deathbeds, they tend to think.
Do you think
about
we
the
become
things-
more productive as we get older because of that? I mean, wouldn't that thought process say that as we approach our death, we become we start to start to accomplish more things?
I don't think that follows.
I don't think so either.
But I think that explains the reason why when people are on their deathbeds, they tend to, wish that they did more things and they regret not doing things.
I mean, that's a big speculation too. Also, but the question was,
We're
is
on
it motivates.
being terrified of success, and now we're on our deathbed.
I know.
Because you wanted to know if we thought that it would motivate people away from that pain. I think yes. I think that's a very scary thought, to think about getting to the end of my life and knowing that I didn't try, that I didn't have the courage to face these stupid fears of judgment and rejection. Oh, boo-hoo. Like, come on. Like, that's going to be more painful at the end of my life, that I wasn't willing to go through those fears than anything. So I think it's motivating.
Another element of fear of success is the fear of the work that comes with it. Like knowing, okay, this is what I want, but I know there's going to be a lot of process between that. Kind of like you said, Jen, there's going to be a lot of steps for that to happen. And oh my goodness, that can be overwhelming, right? We see that can be a lot. And man, am I going to have to be a workaholic? Am I going to like all of these things? Do I have the energy? Do I have, will I be able to sustain the energy? Will I be able to work that much? Well, all of these things bubble up and prevent us from starting. And that's truly a fear of success, right? Because with each success, we feel like, oh my God, it's just going to be more work.
And does the more work outweigh, where is that scale?
Yes. I mean, and that kind of falls in hand with that. Do you have to be uncomfortable to be successful? Like to start to chase success. Like if we're happy and fed and getting enough of what we need, and life is pretty good, do we still go after our success? Yes. I mean, obviously. Look at the billionaires out there in the world. They're constantly still doing things.
Yes, but they all say that fear and discomfort is part of success. All of them. Every single billionaire I've ever heard speak. That's their big thing. Is you're going to be scared.
Yeah.
It's part of it. It's going to be uncomfortable. That's part of it. That's why you are setting yourself apart from a lot of people who are living in the comfort of not trying, of not facing fears. That's what gives them this, I don't know, ability to talk. I don't know. Every billionaire I've ever listened to says that stuff.
I would argue sometimes, though, that they happened into some tremendous success and then we're able to sustain it. But no, fear. I mean, 100% fear. I have had plenty of successes driven by fear and driven by a need and a necessity. I think when I was in that state of need, I was more willing to just sort of throw myself into things. And I think that now that I'm more comfortable and don't have that stress and fear, in fact, I don't want that stress and fear because it just makes me fatter and older. So I avoid stress. So I'm very much more picky, I guess, about what I want to possibly succeed and fail at, if that makes sense.
I've got one.
Yes.
The fear of success also can come from fear about succeeding at the wrong thing.
Oh, yeah.
Because Joy and Success talked about like a midlife crisis, and that got me thinking about quarter life crisis. Like, what's the difference between a quarter life and a midlife crisis? And I think it's the fear of like overly committing to something, and spending a lot of time in that, and then realizing you should have done something else. You've succeeded, but because you succeeded and you spent all that time, you realize in retrospect, I should have done the alternative. And you don't want to invest your time in something that you're not sure that it will succeed in the first place, and you're not sure what the long-term effects are.
And I think that's absolutely true. So like if we think about our sometimes our students, when they go into this, they or even before they do, we'll get calls and they're like, so can you guarantee that we're going to be successful?
Yeah.
Can you promise that what is the rate of success of your students?
What is the success rate? We get that a lot.
And your graduates and all of these things. And we have to respond with, well, it's up to the person, right? Like it's the success and failure is not about in the education, it's in the steps taken after, right? Truthfully, the education is consistent.
Like, what is the success rate of like college graduates? Let's asking
like
that.
Yeah, that's such a
and so
ask,
like
right?
the cop out. It seems like a cop out, but really it's like, okay, like success do you mean like graduation rates? Because I could give you that.
We can tell you
our graduation rate is like about 100%.
It's such a good point.
And then I qualify that. It's like, do you mean accreditation with the ICF? Because then I'm thinking about Dan and his mentor coaching and the people he mentors, and it's close to like 97%, 99%. And then they're like, no, I mean success in my business. They're like, well, I don't keep up with those people. So their measure of success is completely different.
What will happen is people will avoid, they want like a guarantee. Like this is going to be a success. Guaranteed. And the reality is, and this is where that fear comes in, right? Is that nothing's guaranteed, right? Nothing in life is guaranteed. So you have to, at some point, be willing to take the dive without that assurance. And I don't know of any company anywhere that's like, I guarantee you're gonna be.
Well, I know. I think you see the ads on YouTube,
but I don't trust them. So I really don't trust them.
I've seen plenty of statistics from other schools that there is no way that they know this, because people don't come. None of them come for the same reason. They all come for different reasons, and they apply the skill set in so many different ways. So we could technically say it's 100% successful. Not only do we have 100% graduation, we have 100% success. What does that mean to you? It doesn't mean anything. What do you want to do with that? When you learn this information, how will you apply the skill set? How will you put yourself out there that allows you to go through, and I'm going to pull that word back in, even though you may be terrified, that you do plug forward that allows you to take that risk in ways that, as you said, Jen, I think earlier, it's uncomfortable. we like sure things. And in that sure thing, you work 9 to 5 day job. You don't go off on your own business, because that's a skill set that now you're supplying a lot of work, a lot of money, and you get challenged because you don't know who's showing up in the place that you're supposed to be showing up for your target market. It's an experiment as well. You can do all kinds of research that help eliminate the experiment, but in the end, until you actually go forward and try things, that terrified of success can stop you, because marketing for a lot of our coaches is terrifying. I don't know. Did I go on a rant like we did earlier? Sorry.
The other bit too, I think that comes up in this is, and I think it's kind of silly and kind of funny, but I understand it, is sometimes people feel like, well, what if it's an overnight success and I don't know what to do. I don't know how to sustain it. Like suddenly, boom, there's going to be all this success and I'm not going to be able to deal with it. And I always, there's no such thing as overnight success. Like that's the amazing thing, is anything that feels like overnight success is truly you just weren't present and didn't realize all of the work that had happened prior to that. Also, I mean, we're always capable of ebbing the flow of whatever our success is in, right? Like opening the floodgates and closing those floodgates. We are capable of doing that. And I think of like even us as a company. It started out, I mean, essentially Lisa and I and her family would help where they could, and then we brought Jerome on, and then as we needed it, we brought the help in, and it was it's not been an overnight process where we suddenly have a billion facilitators, and we said, no, each step is taken sort of slowly at its pace, and it's slowly ticking up, and it becomes this thing that grows, but it's done at its own rate. And it's really, I think the focus is being consistent. I just recently saw an Instagram reel, and it cracked me up because it said something along the lines, and this is unrelated directly to what we're talking about, but it is directly related at the same time. He's talking about women who go to the gym and they say, well, I'm afraid I'm going to get bulky. And he's like, do you understand the amount of how much protein you would have to, and how much lifting and how long? I don't get behind my car and worry I'm going to become a NASCAR driver. Like that's not how the world works. I think that you can adopt that thought process though, to like taking steps in this, and that fear of success. I'm not afraid if I put myself out there to start coaching that suddenly I'm going to become Tony Robbins. That's not just realistic view of the world. There are an enormous amount of steps that go from here to here, and you're present for all of them, and you can pace them to you and your life. And I think that's something that as a coach working with clients, what we work with them on, right? The client comes in overwhelmed and not able to see the process to success, and we break it down into the micro and make it manageable, and talk about it in little steps. What do we want to achieve over this whole time we're working together? What's our first step this session, this week, this time? And that's really, I think, takes away this big, sort of removes the fear of success elements when it comes to that overworking, all of these things going on. Other elements still exist, and we tackle in a different way. But in that realm, how do we as coaches, or how does this present in our clients? How would we see a fear of success and be able to identify a fear of success in our clients?
How do we identify fear of success? Well, I mean, it's just what they're sharing with us, what they're probably lack of follow through, probably language, probably listening to their limiting beliefs. Probably all of those are indications that they're having that.
Some of the stuff we do life coaching is like, let's bring the future to the present. Like, what is it like what would it be like if you achieved your goal? And instead of being happy about it, they're filled with anxiety. As they're talking, you can tell they're getting more and more anxious as they're like working themselves into a corner about what it would mean to be successful in their goals. So like they don't have the standard reaction when they think about success.
I think Lisa sort of touched on this. Someone who gets really close and then it doesn't happen, right? And then they get really close and then it doesn't happen. They almost get there and then they stop right before, right? Like, and I could absolutely, I mean, that exists, right? And then as a coach, we would ask around that, right? Is this what you really want? Is this, I've noticed that you get right to the point where you're going to achieve your goal, pull the trigger, take this step, it's going to happen. And then something comes up.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that. What's happening?
The pattern arises and whatever their pattern is. Yeah.
Being able to identify those patterns and ask around those patterns. With a client that is afraid of success, is it our job to make them unafraid of success?
Is it our job? No, we don't make them do anything.
Out there.
What are you talking about? No. However, it is the client's job, right? They say, I want to do this, and I've got things that I keep putting in my way, and I don't accomplish this. We have to find out what those things are and find out what they want to do with them. So is it our responsibility to help them uncover? Yeah.
Yeah, it's our responsibility to bring the fear to the surface and see what's really true about that fear for them. Some of it is not going to be true for them. They just need to see it right in front of their face to look at it.
Tell me more about that. What do you explain that a little more? What you mean by true for them?
Well, sometimes a client will say something like, I'm worried about, being judged. Okay. What happens if you're judged? Well, I just wouldn't like it. Okay. Well, what wouldn't you like about it? We've done this before, Brooke, where you keep asking. And at some point they get to this point where they're like, I guess it's not that bad, or I guess what I'm afraid of is not actually scary to me now that we've taken it that far, now that we've excavated and gone under these layers here. And that's what I mean, what's true for them about that fear. There's some stuff in that fear that they can see isn't true for them when you do that process of asking into it.
I'm trying to think of successes that I'm afraid of, and the only thing that comes to mind is me wearing shorts. That's not like a deep discussion we need to tell, but that's like literally the only forefront of the brain right now, apparently.
What about Jerome? What's a fear of success for you?
I'm not sure if I didn't read the Forbes article. I'm sure maybe it does touch on this. Fear of alienation is something that comes to mind for me. People around me that I care about saying, that's not you. You're only doing that because you want to reach a plateau that's expected of people that, aren't even really necessarily in your life. So fear of alienation is probably one of my bigger ones.
My immediate gut reaction, not a coaching moment, is like, I want to slap everybody who does that.
Everyone that you know.
Like, shut up.
Your friends, your family, we're going to slap them.
Judge him and his
I'd hope that that's not the case, but it is a fear. It's definitely an underlying fear.
My defensive mama, like, no! came up so fast there. I would have had to throw that down as a coach. I could not go there.
Yeah.
This is going to sound like a really stupid fear of success, but I'm afraid to win the lottery.
That's not stupid.
Why? Why are you? Why? Tell me more.
How do you manage that? That's just a lot.
By not playing the lottery.
Yeah. How do you manage success after winning the lottery?
Well, think about what it means to actually win lottery. Having millions of people know your names associated with $1 billion, and what sort of things you need to do in place to protect yourself
There's
by
a lot
that
of
success.
overthinking there.
I mean,
Well, it's not because
Yeah.
I mean it's overthinking because it's like
No, it's needed.
because
yeah.
but it's unneeded because it's not likely to ever happen. It's probably the most unlikely thing to ever happen. But a good deal of the people who win lotteries go bankrupt.
Yeah, they
and
do.
they're triple to quadruple times more likely to be murdered or sued or blah blah blah, have drug overdoses. Very dumb thing, but it's a thing that I am both afraid of and desire greatly.
Yeah.
It is.
Anthony just wants to win the lottery.
Yeah, it is both the idiot tax and the ultimate goal is to just win the lottery.
I mean, I think but right there, that's an example of an overnight success and why it isn't sustainable. And why it's not sustainable, because that lottery winner never built the tools to manage that level of money, to properly invest it, to sustain it. They know how to live in the manner that they live, and they've never been that most of those lottery winners haven't built that foundation that's capable of sustaining that level of success, and so they lose it. Which is very interesting, right? And I could see that a lot of people might not go after success because they are afraid that they will be like other people who have had it and failed. Something we mentioned prior to. So let's talk with us as a coach. If we had a client that came in and I think winning the lottery is a bit of a big ask, but let's say we have a client that comes in and they want to begin a business that has had where somebody they know or has had some level of failure. Maybe they failed at it before and they're afraid to start again. I guess that's fear of failure at that point, though, right? Isn't it? At that point, we're not afraid of succeeding, right?
Yeah.
Well, I kind of want to bring something up too that I've been thinking about that might appear to be fear of success. It might look like fear of success, but it's desire towards failure. And we're going to talk about this probably. I'm probably going to bring it up the week 5 topic about it's like, are you a hedonist? And it's like the pain and pleasure principle. But it's like and related to that, it's the death drive, where it's like I get pleasure out of failure. And this is like a secret. We're getting into like psychology territory, or even the edge of psychology territory. But
aren't we always on the edge of psychology territory?
Yeah, but like this is like Freudian stuff, which I like take with a grain of salt, but it could account for people's seeming fear of success, which is really their desire to fail. I want to secretly, without my knowledge or with my overt knowledge, to fail, and it might appear to the coach as a fear of success.
That's a big
We'll have to talk more about that in week 5 then, won't we?
We're done talking about this now, Anthony.
It's got the wheels turning, though.
Yeah, very interesting.
But with regard to clients who are afraid of success, I think that's one of the things. I mean, it comes up. It's a reason that a lot of clients don't start. And they don't even realize it. I think a lot of times it's more sneaky than fear of failure. You don't hear a lot of people out there going, "Man, I'm afraid I'll do it right. I'm afraid I'm going to start this and it's going to be so awesome that it's going to, like, that's not what you hear." Why do you think it is that people don't realize they're afraid of their own success?
Because it's completely unintuitive. It's most of the time, I want a thing and I would like to see the results of it. That's why I'm doing coaching, because I want to achieve this. But that desire also leads to the fear. Because you want something so badly, it seems wrong that you are self-sabotaging because you want it so badly.
So it's sneaky, right? I mean, I think that's why we didn't talk about fear of failure, because that's pretty on the nose. We talked about fear of success because when we talk about sabotage, what comes to mind is an element of sneakiness. And I think that fear of success is sneaky. It's something that we don't always realize we are battling with, or is even happening. Which is why I think it was important, sort of about talking a little bit about how it presents and how it presents for our clients, because I could imagine it is something that's a little hard to identify both for the coach and for the client. Are there any questions that you can think of asking that might assist with that?
Well, I'm not thinking of a question. I'm thinking of something we're talking about, that fear. We are designed to be in fear to help protect ourselves in times that we need it to. It's the times that we don't need it to that we have to start identifying, right? That terrified of success, that self-saboteur who prevents us from moving to that next phase. It's to identify what that fear is. And so this, I guess, is answering your question, this identifying what that fear is. And, like Jen uses the word, how does it serve me? To find out how it does serve me. And generally people will say it doesn't. And but it does. Being in fear helps me to understand and know there's danger. What's the danger? Okay, well, I can identify that piece. What's the piece that doesn't belong? Well, I'm scared to risk. Then that becomes the different topic of question where we go with that client, if that's something that they would say.
Nice. We're getting some hardcore music in here.
I think too, one of the ways it might present with our clients is setting a low bar for themselves. Like having a client that you, I guess, maybe mentions wanting more, but then like sets the bar really low. I don't know. I want to climb Mount Everest, but they're only setting the bar as like, we know this is the overall goal, or maybe they're afraid to even say it's the overall goal, but they've somehow mentioned it in passing or something like that, and they go, well, I couldn't do that. I'm just going to walk down the street. Like I'm going to walk and sort of not being willing to raise the bar with regard to goals and sort of keeping it at a level that isn't challenging them.
I think that's
ask questions around that. Like ask questions. If we have a client that just,
I think so that might be the coach impressing their own desires on the client. I would probably interpret it as, okay, let's walk down the street. And then they do that. I'm like, well, is there anything else you would like to do now that you've done that? Because, I mean, isn't part of coaching setting the bar a little bit lower? By setting the bar lower, I mean breaking large goals into manageable chunks, which is why we set the session contracts. Like, what do you want to do in this session? Not focusing on what do you want to do in the year that we have coaching all the time. Okay, what do you want to do this session? What are you going to do in between this session and our next session? We're deliberately breaking larger, more extravagant goals into manageable chunks that over time may lead to the big Mount Everest goal.
Can we challenge our clients though?
Yeah.
Can we?
Sure.
Well, yes, but I wouldn't assume as a coach that my clients want to have the Mount Everest goals.
Well, I'm saying that, I mean, they've mentioned it, or let's say, okay, so I guess a more concrete example, and this sort of, I guess, will tell, is I guess a more believable way to do it. Let's say we have a client that has a goal. Their goal is to open a business, okay? And what they do is keep setting safe goals essentially, but not goals that are going to get the business open. Like not taking true steps towards the business, but doing all these little other things, getting stuck in those perfectionist of, well, I'm working on my website. Okay, it's not done. It's not good enough. It's not all these little, and those are those moments when they're not really challenging themselves or pushing themselves into that discomfort zone. And I think that's important for us as the coach to ask around that, to start and to remind them, hey, and this is where that timely piece comes in, is so important. When we set that, what is the time? Okay, we want to do this by this, because then that allows us to go, well, what you're doing now going to help you in achieving your goal by the time you want to, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's where that piece of being setting a timely goal, that when we talk about SMART, that timely piece becomes so important, so that we can hold our clients accountable when they are deliberately procrastinating, perfectionism-ing, all of these little self-sabotaging ways, the things that can happen, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right. We shouldn't say, well, you want to climb Mount Everest.
Yeah, you want to own a chain of businesses that is nationwide.
We're at time, guys.
Oh my.
Wow, I know. Final thoughts.
Final thoughts is I'm going to be really thinking about what I said on tonight's live. So thank you guys for bringing that to my awareness.
Takeaway for me is that fear of success is unintuitive to a lot of people, and they may not realize that what is stopping them is themselves and their fear of success. So it's up to the coach to try to question into that and sort of help identify what the fears are, so that the client can arrive to that conclusion that their fear is of success.
I'll say I'm just glad we're having this topic today for our live stream, because it is a sneaky occurrence when you have that fear of success. So it's nice to have just maybe a kind of a reminder or a foundation to kind of think maybe you should maybe do a little bit of introspection and see if maybe you're holding your back from some of the things that you want to accomplish. So it's nice. I know a coach can definitely help, but certainly something I think you can do yourself. And I'm just happy we're having this right now.
I'm thinking this is a really deep conversation, and I feel like we just kind of scratch that surface. I feel like there's just so much more to talk into this space and experience, and yet it's simple, right? It's simple. Stop it. Just do it. You watch that on a video or something. Stop it. Just do it.
Just do it.
That overthinking, honor it, because it's trying to help you in some fashion, but also get into stop it and do it.
I think that the great thing about it being just scratching the surface is the self-sabotage exists regardless, and we're going to keep talking about self-sabotage, and I think we're going to keep uncovering all of these little things that happen and come up for our clients and come up as we're working towards goals, and as we're working towards in life. And the sneaky ones, we're focusing on the sneaky ones, which are the ones that are always, and Jen had her aha sneaking group. She's got to go do some thinking. So I think that's why this is such a powerful theme that we have going on right now is the sneaky ways that we might be sabotaging ourselves, and we're not done yet. We've just scratched the surface, because we have more next week. Next week we are discussing, I have to pull it up because I don't have it right in front of me. Do you feel guilty and ashamed? And this is like essentially the shame machine. Who is it that benefits from shame and humiliation, and what role does it serve in society, in our lives, because it exists and it is serving a purpose. And so we are gonna delve into that, both the guilt and the shame, because I think that what's interesting about guilt is you have to believe it. right, for it to affect you. So very interesting. We'll be diving into that next week, and also how we as coaches can help our clients who are feeling these things and experiencing these things in life. So that is all. Bye, folks. Thank you so much for watching. Have an amazing day. Make sure you like, subscribe, all of that good stuff, and check out Certified Life Coach Institute. Jen, do you want to finish up?
Yes. What's left though? Follow, like, share with someone, and if you want to pass along what is this? I don't know.
The most important part.
Money.
Applause.
Taking our classes.
Yeah.
Yes, I was getting there.
No.
How is this
And
taking
take our classes or refer people to our classes, because
That's what I do every time someone registers and I run a registration. I do this.
Is this like a quiet, like applause, quiet violin?
No, it's like I got moolah, cash,
Oh.
dinero.
Not this. All right, thank you so much on that note. Bye.